like to start our first session. And for our first session, I have great pleasure to invite my colleague, Charmy Bell Westning Macro. It didn't much, but it's been like 4 years, and I only call Charm as Charm. And she's always charming. Charm is from the Institute of Housing and Urban Development from Netherlands, and she will be starting the first session by talking about how we embedded co-creation in a climate resilient, how we actually work methodology for cities. Thank you so much, and Charm, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Salem. And it was a pleasure, honor, and a privilege to actually work together with committed 28 partners past 4 years. I'm going to be sharing to you about co-creation and living labs, climate adaptation. And we actually defined living labs as dynamic open innovation ecosystems that operate in real environments. The context of this concept, we expanded it a coastal city living lab, where we actually focus on co-designing and co-developing coastal city interventions and activities, novel ecosystem practices involving all relevant stakeholders in the development. Now, a CCLL for us, or Coastal Lab, is an innovation intermediary which an ecosystem of actors in a specific region tackles specific challenges related to sea level rise, coastal erosion, and extreme events. And we able to establish very happily 10 coastal city living labs that involve citizens, scientists, policymakers, other stakeholders, providing prototype coastal different. Co-creation, we define co-creation as a process based on the identified need aims to develop results that involve knowledge flows and absorptive capacities from all actors involved across the entire economic and social environment referred to as address needs. In the context of SCORE, we define co-creation as the outcome of the processes where different knowledge, values, and expertise evolve to build a consistent and sustainable LL. Now, in co-creation, in activity, we also define co-creation as a continuous process. The living love integrated process wherein there is a problem space, a solution, and the deployment space. All phases co-creation is taking place, differing on the needs. So, for example, in the problem space, we co-created, co-developed, and co-produced different kinds of issues, visions, strategies, goals with Living Lab. We uncover different kinds of barriers that they could actually find out and face in the process of Living Lab. Yeah. So for this, we also co-created a toolkit, and this co-creation toolkit has had different kinds of tools that you can use in your co-creation process in different stages. And you can, of course, check this in the SCORE website where you can access it and you can find different ways of actually engaging your stakeholders. We are very proud that, of course, within the SCORE Coastal City Living Labs, we have co-created values and co-created values such as ecosystem-based adaptation, smart sensors, digital twins, and ICT platforms played a very important role in demonstrating the network's technological advancement while driving societal and environmental impact with coastal cities. Also, we are very happy that not only is this co-creation activities are taking place within one living labs, a CCLL, but we they learn from each other through this network of 10 CCLLs. They have knowledge transfers, they have knowledge exchange, and all of these are taking place and they're learning from each other. And that is what we are very proud of in this as one of the outcomes. Another legacy that we can claim actually in this project is also that these co-creation activities brings together um, very important actors, governments, academia, industry, citizens, and these have built a legacy of sustained engagement on climate issues while fostering innovation in climate adaptation. Also, one of the things that also Salem mentioned that we did a lot of citizen science activities. Citizen science activities have resulted to empowered a local community actively participate in data collection, making observation, analyzing information, but also enhance research capacity for public engagement, environment and environmental awareness. The score outcomes as uh, as a conclusion have achieved significant tangible outcomes that I've just said, ecosystem approaches, sensor, digital twin, and non-tangible project results. Our non-tangible project results are really the relationships built and the knowledge transfers within the different CTLLs and the different actors in this project. These efforts and these results link to the efforts in fostering strong relationships, partners and stakeholders, allowing all these coastal city living labs that people hearing in a while to effectively mainstream results in a wider community and in their own. So thank you very much, and I will hand it over to Yara.
Thank you very much. Carmen, I'm Chiara Cocco. I'm from University College Dublin. And as you heard from Salem and Charm, actually, the local community, our living labs, were directly involved in the project through a series of citizen activities and workshop in urban settings. Let me start with a light definition. What is citizen science? So citizen science refers to a broad range of activities in individuals from diverse backgrounds and usually non-professional contribute actively to scientific research in a beyond simply serving as a subject in medical experiment or traditional engagement models focus on informing, consult, and involve. So the left part of this diagram. In contrast, citizen science emphasizes collaboration and empowerment, and our activities where scientists and citizens work together meaningfully throughout the research project. There are two different main types of citizen science. The collaborative model, where the scientist leads the process and citizens support specific tasks and data collection, and the empowerment, where citizens usually have direct control of the process, and in this second case, there are more chances that the activity on the project itself, and we actually use. So at the heart of the SCORE engagement process is the design and implementation of a socio-technical citizen science framework for community-based and environmental monitoring. This framework uniquely combines a series of stakeholder workshops, which are the light this diagram, and the SCORE tools, which are the darker circles part of this diagram. And is supported by a series of low-cost and easily environmental. These tools and the sensing technologies that we have selected enable a systematic collection of hyper-local data and parameters on such as temperature, humidity, water level, and water quality. And this approach complements official monitoring system very valuable community-driven data. The framework facilitates a comprehensive and inclusive process covering the full spectrum. Uh, Sensor selection is the catalog circle in this diagram, to a technical onboarding app and workshop, up to deployment, troubleshooting, and data visualization in the this is all facilitated by the SensorThings API standard, which allows us to manage the data in an efficient way. This framework is designed for established living labs ecosystem and can be effectively used by the core team to engage stakeholders in each step of the process, ensuring that this engagement remains active throughout the process. One of the key components of the is actually the local sensor catalog, which serves as a key resource during sensor selection work. This workshop involves stakeholders in identifying suitable low-cost sensors, specific environmental challenges, which are specific for each living lab. And the catalog is used during the workshop. The selection is guided by criteria such as use, relevance to the local context, and availability of. This web application serves main purpose. First, it allows stakeholders collect, structure, manage, and publish information and metadata, a range of sensing devices. Stakeholders begin identifying the environmental variables related to their goals. Based on these, they filter the sensors in this catalog, and they can consider both technical and social aspects in the selection of the sensor. The platform operates like an online shop, allowing users to select devices into a basket based on a different criteria. It's built on a user-friendly interface, and we are planning to add new, to allow the possibility and the feature to add new sensors after the end of the. First of this workshop was conducted in Dublin Livy Lab in May 2023. Here you can see some picture of the the workshop from Dublin and the Vedas Living Lab. The sessions usually bring together stakeholders from diverse groups, and including representatives from local authorities, academic institutions, and community groups. Usually there are approximately 30 participants engaged in structured discussion to evaluate sensors from the catalog, and they are usually divided in groups and can select different set of sensors. So citizen science onboarding workshop follows the selection workshop. We have developed an app, an onboarding app, which provides clear step-by-step guidance on the assembly and deployment of the sensor, and making sure that the attendees can independently set up and register the sensors and carry out to the facilitators. As you can see in these images, we have people Benidorm and people from Dublin. They introduce the onboarding materials. They offer hands-on demonstration and troubleshooting techniques to address potential participants actively interact in these sessions and gaining direct experience how to operate with it. This initiative not only empowers citizens with essential scientific and technical skills, but also contribute to the ongoing pilot deployment of sensors and refining the onboard broader adoption in the other. This is the map where all the sensors that we have installed present, and all data can be publicly accessible. And depending on the sensor, the data are real time or almost The last things I want to show you today is that for our community engagement activities, we use not only sensors, but also we organize activity games. These geo games and other light definition are type of serious games, which are games for purpose. They are beyond only entertainment. They use virtual or physical representation mechanics designed to foster acquisition of spatial analysis. In this case, we use Minecraft, the well-known game, to engage children in designing nature-based solutions for our living labs. We organized an online workshop where all the living labs were online on a single server, and they were proposing nature-based solutions for their local areas. And we have developed our own game, which is called Geodesign Game. It's can be used by both children and adults, and we have tested it in Asian, and it's role-playing games that allows different groups to design, co-design, and negotiate nature-based solutions for challenges. Thank you very much.
Okay, is that better? I assume that's much better for them. Okay, so I want to first start this conversation talking about stakeholder engagement. When Charm was going through it, I mean, the foundation of a CCLL, of a living lab, is stakeholders and making sure that the right people are in the room at the right time to have these conversations. So I want to ask to Nezlahan if you and CCLL stakeholder engagement challenges, and specifically had some really stories and engaged populations. So the floor.
Have some about the communities engage with us, because they used to think that academicians are very far from them. But when we start to communicate with them by in personally, they start to use to collaborate us. First of all, we start to see them in their sites personally, made some little group meetings to understand them and to make them feel that they belong to our communities, our project. But unfortunately, in the beginning, they feel so much shy to involve our events. But thanks to our face-to-face meetings, at the end, they very used to us, and they start to ask when the other meeting and where next meeting. And after then, we found that we can communicate with them and engage. The real engagement starts at that moment. And by the way, we brought them lots of cakes because they love cakes. And it makes all of us break ice. And after the cakes, we found that people love cake, and it makes that okay for now? Do you need a cake? I can manage it. Okay. Okay, then cake makes us engaged. After then, our conversations getting warmer and sweeter. They love us, and they start to involve all the meetings. But a little bit shyness continued with the other stakeholders, like academia, like private sector or institutions, public institutions. But that was not a big issue after the case. And then we try to understand their daily problems, their economic problems, and we saw lots of things that we already didn't know about the area. We are already working on the area that they already living in, but we don't know the basic problems about their communities. After that, we start to understand their daily problems, their economic problems, and we saw that they have already solutions. For example, uh, I think it's in the next, yes, they already started to build and restore their dunes, but they don't know that they're making an EBA. We found that, and we make it uh, like a little scientific, a little more academic. But then another problem is came to our hands that they have a conflict about farmers with fishermen. Fishermen don't want dunes, farmers want dunes because farmers want dunes because of the water intrusion, saltwater intrusion, but fishermen don't want the dunes on the river mouth because of the breeding route of the fishes to the lakes. After that, we found a way to solve this problem. We made a schedule for them and respect both of the sides solve this problem. And in the end, I think resilience itself, it's not about building something or infrastructure. Just about communication. It's just about talking each other, listen each other, and the living lab concept is really works on.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing this experience. And I mean, when we're sitting here, we have a few minutes to discuss, but I know how challenging facilitating some of those meetings when you've got people with very diverging interests and financial and their well-being interests. So I think your CCLO did really well to navigate that and to get to a place where you had found common ground and a collaborative solution. And so I'm going to turn to Cecil. So Cecil, the Paran CCLL is located, it's a small town on the coast of Slovenia, and it's a very historic town. I think you can see from this picture above me, and it benefits quite a lot from tourism. And so when we were preparing for this session and discussing, um, it's quite interesting that the way the town was originally built, they were using methodologies that were already quite adaptive some time ago. So I want to give Cecil the opportunity to talk a little bit about how the CCLL has leveraged this traditional knowledge and the infrastructure within the framework of SCORE and within the CCLL concept.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, as you can see, Peran over here is surrounded by water mostly. This is also indicating the study area which we selected as a researcher and a guest in this town. It's a typical Mediterranean town which actually profited from the Venetian rule in that sense, and the nearby salt production from the sea, the harvesting of sea salt. And this is a typical Mediterranean town in that it has narrow alleys, very small green areas, and very densely built. But through our engagement and our research and being moderating of the CCLL, we had a lot of interviews with citizens and stakeholders, and we actually identified that the local knowledge is already there. It's maybe not particularly kind of a EBA style or nature-based solution style, but for sure there are some typical traditional kind of approaches and methodologies, like for example in water permeable kind of stone historic pavements, or that the terraces and the urban gardens are on slopes and falsified with dry stone walling, with also a typical kind of methodology, a traditional one, which you can also evaluate as a nature-based solution in that sense. But this town is already here for centuries, and it doesn't have any fresh water. So the traditional way of having fresh water available for drinking water is collecting rainwater. And there are a lot of underground cisterns on patios and squares. Um, well, there were actually in the past, and some of them still till this day are there and are collecting water. And we are kind of pushing the knowledge how to use this again, not for drinking water, but for other purposes, and to be sparsely doing with your freshwater resources. And that is also something which one of these ladies over here, she's a semi professional historian, and she's writing also about certain things, historical aspects. And she also had published in 2017, for example, a catalog on all the fountains and the systems, the water systems in Piran. So we kind of capitalize on that kind of knowledge which is already there. And some of these people are also here. There's a municipality representative of the cultural events. There are two representatives of the Maritime Museum, and there is also a landscape architect over here. So we are trying to get these people together on finding these traditional ways and revalorizing them. And in SCORE, we are also able um, to support it a little bit by doing cost-benefit analysis on how much you would profit if you would introduce um, more green open access spaces, real EBAs in your town. So we support with that, but also how to what the cost benefit is of revalorizing actually these historic water systems. So this is kind of information which comes back to this audience and to not only to the citizens but also to the authorities, which they can use further on and hopefully also as a continuation of SCORE projects. So we are in the middle of this and we are moderating that, and we are trying to put these people on um, knowing that they are actually working on the same kind of issues. So we are trying to moderate them to work together. So we started a working group on actually revaluation of the architecture, the traditional architecture, in combination with the landscape, the traditional landscape, introducing all these methods and trying to find the funding and further continuation of introducing EBA methodologies or hybrid EBAs to this community. And this is basically our story for now.
Thank you, Cecil. I like the story for now, ... We'll see where Peran CCLL goes in the future. So I'm going to hand it over to Villanova CCLL, but just maybe for some contextual information for the people in the audience. We have a very wide range of CCLLs in terms of the size of the community, the number of partners that are involved. And so by contrast, Villanova is one of our, let's say, quote unquote, larger CCLLs, in that you came with experience to the project in Living Labs, and that you have 3 core partners from SCORE that support the development of the CCLL. So if you could tell us a little bit about how your previous experience and the team has been leveraged in SCORE, and how you've used this in the deployment of your EBA within your community.
Hello, good afternoon. I'm Esther Toledo. I'm environmental technician in Villanova. Villanova, as Rochelle says, has 7,000 inhabitants, and it's placed 45 kilometers south of Barcelona. I've been working with Living Land Method for 10 years ago. We had the luck to meet one of the founders of the ENOL, and it helped a lot when we implemented the SCORE project. It helped to detect opportunities. What we don't want for a SCORE project is to create anything new. We don't want some pop-up without continuity. What we wanted is just to improve our local activities and make it bigger and make it bright. For that reason, and following this, we understand and we discover that Living Lab for us works in 2 sides. One is the stakeholders engagement, as some of us, we also have used it, and you have commented, but it also helps to show citizens that AVAs and climate adaptation solutions are testing solutions. And there, we are not going to deliver them a final solution. It's not, we are not deliver a park with all the things put. We are working, they need to understand that AVA is a working process because natural solutions need to be implemented, and then they has a huge, the times need to pass and the nature has to do their own job. So we need to manage the uncertainties. There are lots of things that we don't know, and thanks to the SCORE advances, we know more about this. The climate change scenarios are different. We don't know how it's going, what is going to happen, and we don't know how the nature solution will adapt in the changing frame. So in that point, sensors and data helps to know more about the situation and help people to understand what is happening beside around their home. We also want to accent to move or to continue working. The co-design is needed, but I also want to accent to the maintenance. Big solutions are delivered, but we need to continue making them. What else? This area you see here, it started in 2004, where a group of neighbors says that this area should be protected. It was safe from speculation. There was planned a hotel and lots of buildings here, and the citizens say no. Fortunately, the politicians say, okay, we are agree with this, and it was closed to everyone at that moment. Lot of rubbish was thrown, and it was the main objectives by the beginning was conservation, so nobody go on. Thanks to SCORE project, we realized that we cannot manage an area like this because people need this area. Is from them and then needs to work on. Climate change adaptation is key for this area. His area is between the train and the camping and also the sea. And all it helps us more than conservation, that it's one of the main objectives, also for climate adaptation, which is sometimes difficult to understand to the local neighbors. Um, for us, this is a showroom where people and citizens can get involved and can work on. At this moment, we are happy that join with this initiative the neighborhood council, which is the previous image, and they agree to work on this. The manage of this area is complicated because it has a lot of previous bad uses. In our case, instead of cakes, I think we need to buy a toilet. Sometimes it's easy things that you need to make it go faster and go better. And this is the sensibility to understand the neighborhood needs. Finally, to conclude, I think that the challenge of this nature-based solution is not to create protected areas, if not respected areas. People need to understand and work on that line. And finally, I'm really pleased and thanks to this project because as a city technician, we need tools. There are not so many tools, and we have created nice one, comprehensive and useful. And also all the network of partners, because sometimes you feel alone working in local level, and to see this enormous background helps a lot. Thank you.
Pass the microphone game. Is this on? Okay, excellent. Thank you so much, Esther. I really liked what you were saying about it's a progressive activity, you know, this updating, this adaptation. And I like the focus on kind of the balance between the humans and the nature. It wasn't helpful to just close it off. We need to understand how people are interacting, whether you wanted to them or to or not. So it's just a reality. sometimes nature is not all that cooperative with us, unfortunately. And so I want to pass the microphone over to our CCLL, to Teresa, who's going to talk a little bit about the citizen science sensors and how important they were for you in protecting your community.
From Oeiras municipality, municipality that is near Lisbon, Portugal. So Oeiras municipality participate in this project with the aim to increase resilience to climate risks. And in the first workshop that we had with the local stakeholders, it was very clear that our concern in our territory was the flash floods. And especially they are triggered by intense rainfall and can be especially concerned if they coincide with high tide. And so our concern is to have sensors that have real time, give us real-time data and for the parameters of rainfall and river flow. Of course, Oeiras municipality have already some sensors, but we thought with SCORE sensors to give more intensification of our network sensors and collaboration, very close collaboration with our civil protection. And also um, with this data, use them with the education purposes, it's citizen science activities. So we select 11 sensors, 4 meteorological stations and 6 hydrological sensors. The location of sensors was a very collaborative. We made a workshop with local stakeholders. We involved the civil protection, the firemen, the other services of the municipality. Also, sorry, the National Meteorological Service. So we involve several levels, local, regional, and also national. And it was very interesting because we discussed the different areas and we have the okay to others. And in this workshop, the schools also, and they are very natural station. The stations that of, and they create some. So um, as we collaborate very close, because we install sensors and they are in the platform of action and they receive galaxy and all the information of sensors. And the schools also have the data and they use in scientific and in some education's subjects like geography and they education activity. It was great, the collaboration of stakeholders from the beginning. And it was very important for us of and also the flexibility of the apps and also the partners of support can be it could combine the technology, strategic planning, and also the info stakeholder create some impact in.
Thank you very much for sharing that. I think it's really nice that you were able to capitalize both practically, but then also engage the students and sort of start that next generation's awareness of climate adaptation because I mean, it's so incredibly important and it's good to pass that information along. So we'll go to our last speaker. Kate is from Gdansk CCLL. And so for the last point of discussion, I wanted to talk a little bit about the future. We have 10 CCLLs and the path looks different for everyone, but we've spent 4 years developing these relationships and building these stakeholder communities. And as we've seen, we've got some incredibly actionable, amazing results out of this. So I would like to ask Kate what the next chapter of Gdansk CCLL looks like and any advice that you might have for cities on how they could leverage the success of this sort of European funding into this new sustainability focused future.
Um, I'm from Gdańsk. Gdańsk is the biggest and the most important city of northern Poland. It has also huge historical heritage because it is the place the Second World War started. Mm, during the 4 years of the SCORE project. Um, our CCCL was during these 4 years. Our CCLL was focusing on urban flash floods um, and torrential and extreme torrential rain events. Our main goal is to be an information hub for citizens, officials, and other end users to adapt Gdańsk for climate change. For this moment, our team is also engaged in the ProClimate Horizon Europe project. During the SCORE project, it was conducted a multi-criteria analysis. Together with our stakeholders, we were discussing about choosing the most feasible and impactful EBAs for implementation in Gdańsk. And it was the starting point it was the starting point for our adventure in the ProClimate project in the context of change behavior and good governance to adapt systematic transformation towards climate resilience. Why are our CCL successful? Of course, it's hard question, tricky question, but I guess that's extremely important is the mechanism of snowball effect. To get on board residents and attract them to our activities. And this process is really time-consuming, complex, and to be honest, needs from the team lots of patience. But it was really worth doing. In our case, really crucial was to have personal chats to engage and to attract these people, especially extremely impactful were co-creation tools, which were done by the SCORE project, and different types of the tools, different for more advanced users, water management officials, or different tools for children and youth. To be honest, thanks to SCORE, we have an opportunity to use our resources in the ProClimate project, but I hope that also we create the brand which thanks to which we
can have another project, European funded project in the nearest future. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I had so many ideas while you were talking, all of us. We've spent so much time talking about the CCLLs, but I think maybe the one thing I'll reflect on just from what you said is kind of this idea about just keep going, trusting the process. You said the snowball effect. And I I remember in the first, let's say 18 months, it was I mean, it's been a lot of work the whole time, but particularly that first phase where we were trying to get the ball rolling. And then all of a sudden it seemed like, okay, we're meeting people, we're doing the things. And eventually we got to this place and it's honestly incredible. We have 10 fully functioning living labs. And I just think the team should be really proud. Um, I also think it's really great to just take this time and reflect. It's hard to convey the impact and the community engagement in a report. So it's good to hear these stories and see the pictures of what's actually happened on the ground. And then finally, I think the benefit of a project like SCORE, because we did have this network of CCLLs, not only were we learning and leveraging the information within the communities, but we were able to translate that across. We have 5 here, but our network of 10 CCLLs, and that's been a really great advantage for the project. So I would like to say thank you very much to our panelists for sharing. If we can give them a round of applause. Okay. All right, it is now time for the second session, which is data-driven and nature-based adaptation tools for today and tomorrow. And I invite Paula from Red Risk up. We will be around after. We're just a little bit tight on time, so please stick around and ask questions. And we have a booth just down there if anyone wants to continue discussing. Thanks.
I would like to start this presentation with two take-home message, and because these two messages should guide you during all the presentation in order to have in mind the value and importance of the result that we obtain in within SCORE. In the SCORE project, we implemented the complete disaster risk financing modeling change that was developed, including several steps. In particular, we implemented climate change data research and upscaling. We developed hazard, vulnerability and exposure model. We developed a flood risk model, and we evaluate risk and losses, economic and affected population. But also we develop a disaster risk financing strategies, and we provide guideline for the coastal city. The implementation of a comprehensive disaster risk financing framework is very important because it includes the understanding of the risk, the planning of and the reduction and the transfer and the retention of risk. And these are all essential steps to develop a sustainable disaster risk financing strategies and to strengthen the resilience of the coastal cities. The first step that we perform is the collection of the data in terms of weather, marine, and climate data. And we use open and free and reliable climate data available on the European sources, well-known European sources. And then we, for example, we use for the historical data ERA 5 data, and for the consideration of scenarios, we consider the available data at the European level for the future protection, that is Eurocore. In terms of where to click. Okay. When we collected the data, the other important steps was the downscaling of the data. So going from the global scale to the local scale. What does it mean, local scale? The scale of the urban city, the scale of the urban model to evaluate climate change at the level of the CCLL. And this is a complex graph, and I'm not going to explain all the steps of this graph, but it is in order to give you an idea of all the state-of-the-art open and advanced model that we implemented to perform evaluation from downscaling of all the data. We also value analysis. We developed the hydraulic model, and at the end, for the scale, derive the and this short video is a nice representation that we would like to give for making you understand that we have also considered the relative sea level rise as a driver for extreme event. All these factors have been taken into account in our analysis for producing the other map. We perform several calculations within the model, so numbers, maps, and so on, for mainly 3 of the 10 coastal city in living lab. We model fluvial and coastal flood for the current situation and for 2 future scenarios, and we model different return period of the different events. This is an example of one of the urban scale model for the city of Massa, and we develop, as already said, fluvial flood and coastal flood model, taking into account different factors that are affecting the quality and the resolution of the model. This is an example of one of the results of the other model, in particular for Massa. With these maps, you can see clearly the effect of the flooded area that increase within the increase of the return. And in these other maps, you can see the flooded area that increase in future scenarios, in particular when we consider the RCP 8.5 characterized by very high emission. In order to reduce the effect of the losses and improve the situation for the coastal city, the first measure was the implementation of the EBA. And for the three case studies that we are showing you as example, we have implemented, as already mentioned by the previous speaker, 3 ecosystem-based approach for the city of Massa, Villanova, and Orsaldea. The implementation of this ecosystem-based approach was characterized by a clear reduction of the hazard. But if we see a reduction of the hazard, the next step is the evaluation of the risk reduction, considering this hazard reduction. So the next step in the evaluation for arriving at a clear and comprehensive evaluation of the risk for this coastal city was the evaluation of the baseline risk. It means the economic losses and the annual exceedance probability of these losses. Then, with the implementation of the EBA, we computed with numbers, of course. Here is a clear graphical representation of the result. We saw a reduction of the risk and the economic losses. So there is a clear benefit of all the ecosystem-based approach in all the cities that we have studied. But then there is still risk that is losses that should be adjusted with a specific measure. In particular, we will see what are the measures that we are proposing in order to cope with the residual risk. In order to compute risk, we already have the hazard, but we need also the exposure and the vulnerability. In terms of exposure, what we derive, we consider as asset at risk the buildings in all the CCLL with different typology. This is an example of the exposure database for the building in Massa. We harmonize several sources. We develop maps in GIS, and we perform a tool in order to harmonize and produce data of good quality, as you can see from the map, for each one of the CCLL. The other asset at risk that we evaluated in our calculation are the population, but also the road and the railways that are in the CCLL. For the evaluation of the vulnerability, that is the damage related to the water level in each CCLL, we, for each asset at risk, that is the building, the road, and the railway, we implemented the up-to-date methodology available in the literature, and we derive the vulnerability curve. So now we have all the ingredients that are hazard, vulnerability, and exposure to compute risk. And the risk, these are only example of the result that we are able to obtain and that we obtain for the different coastal cities. And these are very important results because they give us a clear and a numerical, of course, evaluation of the losses related to the, for example, on the left, you can see the difference between the historical situation and the future condition related to RCP 8.5. But in the other plot, for example, in the histogram, you can see clearly, comparing the blue bars with the orange bar, the difference related to the implementation between the ecosystem-based approach and the situation without the ecosystem-based approach. This is an example, a case Massa, so a specific analysis, but we have a result of this kind for all the CCLL, and we have the possibility to extend this to other coastal cities. Of course, we need data. But as we can, if you remember, sorry, we go back just for a second, there are the orange bar, means that there are still losses to be covered. So we should propose to each administration, to each municipality, and each coastal city, we should propose a strategy and also a framework in order to cope with the residual risk. So the methodology that was implemented within SCORE was, first of all, after the reduction of the risk with the implementation of the EBA, we are proposing a methodology that is based on the first step, that is risk retention. So each municipality, each administration should consider in the strategies to cope with risk the possibility to have a reserve fund. Then we are proposing within this layering methodology a solution for risk transfer, means cover part of the risk through risk insurance, and in particular parametric insurance. But as you can see, there is still some losses, risk that remain, and we will see within the methodology that we are proposing how we are suggesting to each municipality to deal with this risk. Because the important thing is that we are not neglecting the risk that is remaining after the implementation of DBA, or after reserve fund, or after risk insurance transfer. But we are managing the risk and all the losses related to each event. To define the optimal solution, or the potential optimal solution for each coastal city, we develop an optimization engine. Those input are all the result of the probabilistic risk assessment framework, but also the variable related to the current situation for the financial strategies available now in this situation to each coastal city. And we derive as output the budget requirement, but also the financial gap to be filled in with the proposed financial strategy methodology. Then, in order to pass the message to the stakeholder, to the CCLL, we have tried, of course, all the detail have been produced and all the methodologies described and can be replicable for each coastal city. But we, knowing that we have to meet the requirement of the stakeholder, we have summarized all the main key message and the main key result of the analysis in one page. That is an infographic page for each one of the three followers, so Massa, Villanova, and Orsaldea, where we are summarizing not only in English, but also in the language of the CCLL, we are summarizing the main result and the main strategy to be followed as a guideline to improve the resilience of each coastal city. But in general, after this evaluation, we have also derived guideline for all the coastal city of the project, and we also produce, as you can see, there is this one-page infographic material that will be translated not only in English, but in all the language of the CCLL of the project. We are here summarizing what are the potential impact of the result of these tools. We evaluated the impact for all the CCLL because we are suggesting we see that the impact can be the empowerment of the municipality, researchers, and stakeholders in all the coastal city. And we are also providing tools that make evidence-based decisions that enhance climate resilience and sustainable coastal management. But also we see that these tools can have clear impact on the municipality, research and university institution, but also insurance company in order to improve the situation and increase the resilience of the coastal city. Now I will give you the floor to Michele that will introduce another big tool and powerful tool delivered within the activity of SCORE.
Thank you, Paola. Okay, back next. Easy, okay. Hey to everybody, I am Michele Sacco from Lamma, and I want to use this time to show you two powerful tools that we develop in the SCORE project. SCORE, two first letters means smart control, no? And those are exactly what we are talking about, smart tools. First is the digital twin and the early warning system. And the second that I want to show you is the SCORE data platform. All these softwares are based on open source softwares created all from scratch inside a SCORE project and use like a client server mode of interaction to these tools. There are on the right and the left just the two partners that hold and host the software inside their facilities. But of course, it is a huge collaboration for all the partners of this project. So the first one, we're talking of a digital twin. What it is a digital twin? Maybe you have heard lots of time. Digital twin, in few words, is just a digital representation of the physical world. You can see this is Massa CCLL physical representation and the digital one. Maybe it's oversimplified, but it's enough to understand what we can do with this tool. We can manipulate, we can change the aspect of the city without, of course, touching the city, and then try to, in the SCORE project, do two things. First one is the use scenario evaluation. With a few user scenario evaluation, users they can access to this client server application can simulate extreme events inside a city and receive back flooding maps of what's going to happen in this specific situation. Also, the system give you the human and financial flooding map risk. All of these tools are exactly what Paola told before. Put it inside the digital twin. And also we can do the ecosystem-based estimation with simulating first the implementation of the ABI in the city, and second, the extreme event inside this. And at the end, a coastal erosion estimation of the shoreline in case of the beach movement, no? The second thing is that a whirling support system, of course, is an alert in case of flooding or significant damage when using the sensor which this digital twin is connected, and then a warning in case of inconsistent data flows of the sensor, and the forecast of flooding map of the event that it is arriving, and the forecast human and financial risk. This is the more or less the structure of the digital twin, just to say that there's a core of the API who manage the interaction, the learning system use, and a graphic user interface for the CCLL to use it. Because remember, the objective is to make this tool used by the CCLL. What it is inside for doing all the things that I have told you. There are digital data, of course, the digital models of the digital elevation models of the city, the riverine geometry, all the hydrological and sea state model who actual simulate the physical event, the meteo marine event, all the future scenarios data, because you can do with these tools also the projection in the future of what's going to happen depending of the scenario, all the sensors data, of course, that are inside, collected from the digital twin, and the forecast data. This is an example, just to show you an output of the CCLL of Massa. Of course, you can imagine blue are the flooded area, and the yellow, orange, and red are the damage estimated by the digital twin after a user scenario event simulation. Second powerful tool connected with the digital twin is the SCORE platform. The SCORE platform, you say the knowledge marketplace in more large words, because it contains all of the digital production of all the project in the form of resources. This is the landing page. Is a client server. You can dive into it. There is a link upstairs. Also, you can just click and show what inside this project is happened, and we produce. The document, the resources are the physical ones, I mean the concrete one, like document, spatial data sets, time series of sensors, but not also because you can manipulate inside the core platform those data who make to show in the way that you desire. For example, into combined maps, into dashboard, on, for example, in the GeoStories representation of all of what can of all the things that happen inside a CCLL, because this platform is for internal use and for share all the data between the partners, but also for the dissemination, because you can access in a different way. There are 3 user types, as usual in all the this kind of platform. The generic user who can just enter and see, and it is the disseminating part. You can give the links to all of the CCLLs, all the stakeholders, and etc. The project user who can do what I told you about manipulation of the data inside, and administration, the very part on the back end who create and can maybe work with the informatic part. Example of a resource preview of what you can find inside. An example of a GeoStory preview with a map inside, or you can find inside. An example of a dashboard. Last but not least, this platform is connected with all the sensors that all the CCLL told before that are implemented in the SCORE project. And that I told you in the digital twin. Inside the backend of the SCORE ECT platform, of this platform, there is a data harvesting who harvests literally all the data on all the sensors that are connected with. Not only the SCORE implemented sensor, but also the maybe institutional ones. There, if you can find the owner, is not so easy. You can put inside this platform. And that's enough. I just put all the people and the partners who contribute to all of this kind of huge work. And thank you very much. I give the floor to Giovanni to hold the panel session.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Laura. So welcome everybody again. I'm Giovanni Serafino from MBI SRL. This is one of the a company that is part of the SCORE project consortium. Here with me, there is Salem, the project coordinator representing here the city, the coastal city of Sligo. He changes his hat. Here we have Ignacio from the Spanish city of Benidorm, and Xavier from the Spanish city of Orsaldea. Okay, so these last two presentations were more focused on the technological results we had in this project. One of the, in my opinion, most interesting things in this project, and what made it very, let's say, complicated at the start, was merging many different expertise together, very different expertise. But at the end, we could, let's say, merge all of them to tackle the problem of adapting coastal cities and enhance their resilience to the effects of climate change from different angles. Okay, so we produce different tools to achieve this. These tools, in particular digital tools, have been used also for stakeholder and citizen engagement. And I would like to ask people from the CCLLs, in particular, if digital tools for stakeholder and citizen engagement are really helpful to make them raise their awareness against the local effects of climate change. I mean, what is the added value of this kind of tools, and if, I mean, they are the right tool, one of the right tools to achieve this kind of things?
I think the integration of citizen science and the citizen engagement in data collection is really important. I want to talk about the case in Valencia last year. We had that is a city that is only 100 kilometers away of Benidorm, and I think it's an interesting case because we know that the citizen science could limit the magnitude of the terrible flood we had in Valencia. For example, the implementation of sensors in weather stations, the official network, the National Weather Agency, was really limited in the area. No more than 20, 25 weather stations in all the region. In the area flooded, only 3 or 4. But we have a network that is called ABAMET, that is an amateur meteorological network with people, schools, public bodies, also public private companies have weather stations in all the territory, and we were able to measure that more than 600 or 700 liters a square meter were recorded in just a few hours. So I think it's important to implement this kind of sensors in the models to predict the impact in the area. In our case of Benidorm, we are also conducting a drone topographic survey once a year, because the periodicity with digital terrain models of the ministry is it's 7 or 8 years. So for us, it's not enough. So we have engaged the local police of Benidorm, because we are not authorized for fly the drone in an urban area. So they take charge of this task. And well, I think it's important, as I said, to in the SCORE project to have this kind of tasks or procedures to better understand the effects of the climate change.
Okay, thank you. In my opinion, we have different tools focused to diverse audience. For example, as we say in the previous part, the online games maybe are focused to the youngest people, the students, etc. And they are useful tool to raise awareness about the climate change, I think. Also, for the young audience, we have, as say Ignacio says, the sensors and the platforms to visualize the data and the live data of these sensors. And this allow us to work with the students in the schools in different kind of projects. And also to another audience, to an older or a professional one, we have the digital twin or the maybe financial and in the financial strategies the decision making tool that is focused to the raising awareness in maybe in public sector or yes. I think that they are useful to raise the awareness in climate change.
Right. So I suppose, like from my side, like, and putting the hat of the Sligo City Living Lab. Well, the Living Lab by itself, like, it's been led by ATU as an academic partner, in addition to being the coordinator, and then you have also the city council or the municipality being on board, right? And that kind of relationship, being involved as a university in the technical part, developing those digital solutions, helped a lot because we can like see the user experience within the living lab straight away, and we were able to translate that with our technical partners into more suitable solutions. I suppose what I can give an example on how useful and critical those digital tools is. I'll give a real example that happened in Sligo. We did have an extreme storm surge, an extreme climate event that happened recently. That was Owen, right? Which caused a lot of disruption in Ireland. So, for example, order deliveries for Christmas were delayed. People didn't get their cards, and all in addition to the infrastructure damage during that event. Our storm surge model, predictive model that was developed in a score together with the digital twin and the early warning support system was able to predict that and give an early warning to the city council, telling them what is actually happening and what is the extent of the flooding. Not only that, we also managed to simulate the worst case scenario of that event. We said we had a near miss, we will have a near miss simply because that storm surge will happen in the low tide. But God forbidden, if that exact same storm surge happened at the high tide, so the storm surge was 2.5 meters, and it happened at 30 centimeters low tide. The high tides are 1.7 meters. So if you add those together without the the sea level rise, you can imagine the disaster that would have happened in the city. So we not only told the city what is actually going to happen using our operational digital model and digital twin, we also tell them, okay, that's a possible scenario that it might happen, and that what would be the value, that would be the impact on the city. And then based on that, the city council did actually put a response plan. So that's an actual example that happened only, in the last 6 months, using as we develop the product. So you can tell how essential those tools are for the policymakers to make an informative decision. Another part of that is the citizens themselves, right? When you involve the citizens in collecting data, you're not only informing the digital tools with real-time data, you're also getting those citizens understanding the reality of the problem. When the citizens are part of developing that that piece of evidence about what is going to happen in the city, they're more likely to make sure that they push their local politicians. And we actually use that. What we've done is, after developing all those tools, we did develop a policy, local policy recommendation for Sligo. You can access the SCORE website and look at that policy recommendation. And we submitted that to the council of the city, which, because of all the letters from the citizens, it got adopted in the climate action plan. So when you drive actions from evidence, it will be adopted because that's evidence, and anybody not using the evidence will be not making sense. So it's kind of like the most important part is to build reliable tools that can simulate reality and scenarios, and that will be evidence based provided for decision makers. And that's kind of like real story that happened in Sligo, and we understand more, and we have an operational model now that can give early warning. So sorry, that was a long one.
No, no, very interesting because this tells us that this kind of initiatives are not, let's say, have they can reach their goal really, trying to convince citizens on one side, but also politicians on the other side, that there is something we can do. We have the tools to do that, or at least to address the problem and try to mitigate the let's say the effects of those events. Federico Binaglia from Massa is
Yes.
online. Can you hear us? Okay. Federico, please, could you tell us about your opinion about the digital tools for stakeholder and citizen engagement in your experience with the city of Massa?
Yeah. Hello to everybody. I agree with Salem, but from my point of view, on the stakeholder side and especially of the citizen side, we see a little interest in the use of digital tools in the field of risk awareness, such as flood risk or landslide risk. Let me give you a concrete example. In Tuscany, we have an app, a free app called Cittadino Informato, Informed Citizen, which notifies the phone of those who download it of the alert message issued by the regional authority. Furthermore, on the app, it is possible to consult the correct behavior that citizens must adopt in the event of an emergency. And there is a cartographic section where it is possible to view the risk areas delimited by the competent authority. Well, out of 3.5 million inhabitants of our region, only a few tens of thousands of citizens have downloaded the app, made available free of charge by ANCI Toscana, is the National Association of Municipalities of Tuscany. So I think that we have many work to do in this field.
Thank you, Federico. So, what I would like to ask you also is related to this question is so how the SCORE project, in your opinion, as people, let's say, close to administrators, how this changed their approach in data usage? Let's see, do they understood that there are other kind of data they must employ for their activities, and how the usage of data has changed at least what is your experience in this?
Coming back to the case of Valencia, well, in my experience, the use of data in the public administration focus basically on environmental modeling, environmental monitoring, and then in the decision making. But not on a focus on simulation or predictive modeling. I think models are important or key for understanding how a city to respond to an extreme weather event. I believe that in the case of Valencia, the authorities send the alert to the population, to the citizens, through only weather station data. That I think is wrong, in my opinion, because they didn't consider any simulation or any predictive model or what floods, what area will be flooded. So I think the city councils use the data in a fragmented manner and without an interactive approach or being proactive. Well, maybe due to a lack of familiarity with solutions.
That in the case of the Basque Country, the different agencies and departments of the Basque government are incorporating more holistic visions and also the use of models and scenarios of climate change. However, the short-term visions continues and also the old inerties, I can say, in the public sector, obviously. But I think that we, with this corporate, we are reinforcing this idea of the include the models and the scenarios and use of these tools and this information in the decision making. And in the case of Warsaw Development Agency, SCORE has helped us to focus more on a broader vision and long-term perspective, and we will try to promote and to disseminate this kind of work.
All right. Okay. From the Sligo side, so I suppose the main two challenges that have been co-identified with the stakeholders for Sligo at the very beginning of the project were around the coastal flooding, coastal erosion, right? And I suppose when we start looking at what is available to understand phenomena over there in terms of coastal flooding, coastal erosion, we faced the challenge of there is no real-time data that one can say, oh, that's all right, but also there is no historical data, right? And there is no understanding. There is nothing is actually available. So we started building, some sort of a plan, short-term, long-term, in order to be able to understand what is, what is required, and we build the digital tools and the models. So for the coastal erosion example, we looked at satellite images, history of 20 images. So that was kind of like we developed a tool where satellite images can be used for trends, and it can be used also for projections. That being supported with monthly drone surveys for the beach, being supported with a photo booth. Citizens will, as part of citizen science, will go to the beach. There is it has been shown in one of those pictures. You have a frame, they take a picture from that frame and upload it to the data management platform SCORE that will be uploaded into the digital twin and being processed. And then in terms of the flooding, we deployed a number of water level sensors. The powerful of having well-connected or organized data is unlimited, and that's why we recognize at the very early start project. And again, I'm putting now a coordinator like hat, and we went and say, well, one of the main barriers of climate resilience in Europe is basically the data management. It's huge when you look at the science activities, when you look at crowdsourcing, when you look at the sensors, when you look at the models. Can you imagine how many data sources you need to deal with? That was a priority, and that's why within data management as a whole package, and there is a platform that now serving 10 cities, feeding into a digital twin, ready to have more cities being expanded. And that kind of like, it's a huge achievement to have some sort of data management platform being able to manage the whole data flow, real time, history, and build the stories out of that. So shout out to the team and TISA, all the technical people who were involved, including have to shout out to my team.
Yes, Alan. Federico, I would like to also to collect your opinion about the data usage that is done in Massa, and how, if ever SCORE changed their approach to data usage, how?
I think I can say that as far as the use of data to address issues related to climate change, the problem is in Italy is that there are too many bodies that deal with the same things. The regions, for example, for the intervention to secure river banks, the municipality for the fight against ideological instability, and for all the preventive information actions for citizens. I think that the SCORE project has made excellent tools available to the municipality of Massa to better analyze which interventions could be carried out on the territory to reduce the consequence of climate change through the participatory choice of IBA, for example, EBA. But I also believe that the provision of SCORE sensor as hydrometers and cameras positioned on the rivers has made an excellent contribution to increasing the overall resilience of the territory.
Thank you, Federico. I just would like to add one thing about data. When we started designing the digital twin, we needed data. We collected data from CCLS, and once we got the digital surface models, the riverbed geometries that Llama helped us in integrating in the system, and also all the models, let's say all the part related to the models. And then we also got the outputs from work package 6 about the financial strategies, but above all about the vulnerability and exposure maps that we used during the simulations. Once we had all the data stream from the sensors and the weather forecast information and everything, we said, okay, we have all the data we need. And no, it was not true, because the data that were missing, but this, let's say, we realized this after that, because we thought that there should be some, let's say, some data about past events, but not only about the registered millimeter per hour or rain that fell, or other kind of physical measurable parameters. What we missed were the quantification of damages, for example, having some indication on the water level in some areas of the city. We needed some data for validation, and let's say that this gave us a very hard time, in particular to the people of CNR that led the task related to validation, to understand how to validate the system. Because I can launch a simulation, I can see a result, but who guarantees that this result is consistent? So we struggled with that. We employed some satellite data. We employed them on different areas than the ones on which we deployed the digital twin. And we also could make a comparison with the only data we had about a past event in our Saldea. And let's say the prediction of the simulations by the digital twin are quite consistent with this real data. So this is very encouraging, but this is something that we should, let's say, tell to administrators that they should start registering also this kind of data, because if we want to use and validate these kind of tools, they will be very, very precious data. And another thing I would like to ask you about is about the financial tools. That this is also an important aspect of the SCORE project. Do your cities have financial strategies to, let's say, to deal with the consequences of extreme weather events due to climate changes? And did SCORE change their approach to the adoption of such measures?
Well, before SCORE, before SCORE, Benidorm City Council approved a tourist sustainability plan in 2020 with the aim to create like a smart lab to implement digital solutions and also nature-based solutions that will be taken from the Climate Change Adaptation Plan that was approved in 2022, so 2 years later. I think it's important that these plans are funded because as an end users, the administrators, they have to be willing to assume that cost. So in the framework of SCORE, we were lucky that the city council from early stages showed a great interest in the project and also had we take the benefit of a plan to install some smart cameras that count beachgoers that attend to the beach, and also to measure the shoreline evolution. I think it's important to for our studies. Also, we proposed an EBA that is a urban dune during the workshops that will be funded by the council of almost €500,000, if not I wrong. And it will be implemented during the next 2 or 3 years. So I think this kind of solutions and this sensor could be implemented into the models or the digital twin, or and can be a great help of knowing if this kind of solution is more appropriate to reduce some damage. Maybe it's more important to use an urban dune or a beach nourishment in order to combat coastal erosion, or maybe to combat river flooding. It's better a floodable park, or it's better install or widen the depths of a ravine. That's something that could help the authorities to in the making process.
In our case, we currently don't have any financial resilience strategy. The only tool we have in this regard, and I think that is a tool to exist in Spanish state level, is the insurance compensation consortium, which covers the damages from the major disasters of the very extreme events. And the SCORE project changed our approach and our vision in this regard, highlighting the advantages of adopting a correct financial resilience strategy that combines the different type of measures, including the normal insurance, the funds, and also the nature and ecosystem-based adaptations.
Right. All right. Okay. So, okay, very quickly. I suppose, yeah. Well, I suppose in terms of financial strategies, like normally city councils, like in general, municipalities would act, firefighting really, based on what is happening and the complaints available, and that's the realistic of the situation. That's the reality. In Sligo, we didn't have such of strategies. They were kind of like acting as things happens. Now, within a SCORE, when we start, like we've done a lot of work, as you've seen in the presentations of Paula and in the graph above us here, about detailing what are the financial, strategies that can be taken by the municipality as the governing body within the city, right? And I think that will take a long way through, the resilience and acting on the resilience from financial point of view. But I suppose as putting kind of like, again, the hat of kind of like thinking of overall as a project feedback, this is huge and important, and that's a state of the art, in terms of advancing the understanding of the municipalities and city councils. The next step would be investing in nature-based solutions, an interesting proposition for investing banks. Once like investing in nature-based solutions projects can make profit, and the investing banks can make value out of investing in nature-based solutions, and that is proven as a business model, I think the the the, the sector of financing climate resilience will be advanced very quickly because there is a business case attached to that, and that is probably the next step that we're recommending from SCORE, looking at nature-based solutions and ecosystem-based adaptation as an investing proposition for investment banks. Just to follow up with a very quick on that, and I'll hand.
Thank you very much. I think it's time to close the session. And I would like to thank you all for participating. I would like to thank the audience. And Federico, thank you very much for having participated to even if you could not come in person. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And,
Bye bye.
last public event of session.
That's the last part of the session. And as a bit of a closing remark, ladies and gentlemen, friends, partners, I'd like to thank you for attending today's event. It's been an absolute pleasure, having you here. It's been an absolute pleasure talking about the SCORE. To recap, this is the final event of SCORE. However, SCORE's policy and legacy actually standing, and whatever we produce in terms of tools and strategies would remain there as we all mentioned. And as a team, as a group of professionals working in the domain of climate resilience, I suppose it's important to make sure that we stay connected. Even our guests today and the partners, it's important that we all stay connected and work together in advancing the state of the art. I suppose we're all here today about a lot of things, a lot of tools that we've developed, from co-creations, from gaming, from citizen science, from cutting edge tools like digital twins, early warning support systems, climate modeling, data management platforms, nature-based solutions, ecosystem-based adaptations. A lot of outputs have been developed by SCORE. We do have a lot of press kits and policy recommendations in all the different levels that I would invite each of you to look at them and look at the main outputs from the project, and make sure that if you think and if you believe that any of them is applicable, don't be afraid to reach out. We're here to make sure that that legacy of a SCORE, those tools and that investments that has been put in a SCORE project to develop those tools is actually capitalized on. And that's the main aspect that we're looking at. When we look at what is next, it's all about the knowledge being developed. It's all about stay connected as a community. It's all about share the lessons beyond the SCORE network and expand the network of cities for more than 10 cities to replicate, the full scale of the activities or even part of it. There is no wrong or right way where to start. However, we all have to start in adopting a co-creation environment in order, to advance the resilience using nature-based solutions and digital tools. And that's probably the main aspect. I suppose before I close, I just want to say for the next half an hour or on up half four, a number of my colleagues will be at the back of this room demonstrating some of the results of some of the SCORE tools, the digital twin solution. If you fancy looking at how it works, the early warning support system, the co-creation toolbox, and all the financial strategies, all will be demonstrated live today, all those tools. So if you're interested, feel free to chat to any of the colleagues at the back. After 4:30, we will be staying half an hour more at the booth of SCORE, which is at the end of this corridor. Feel free to come to the booth and chat to our colleagues. Again, we will be demonstrating those solutions over there. So make sure that you visit us, contact us, give us your contact, and we'll make sure that we contact you to take this discussion furthermore. And to close, I would like to thank everybody who got involved in those 4 years of projects. Thousands and hundreds of citizens got involved, hundreds of researchers, a lot of stakeholders. hundreds of hours of discussions, debating, hard kind of like discussions, sometimes easier one, laughs, sometimes a little bit of tears, and things are not working and things working. But it's been an incredible process. And as I mentioned at the start of this, as an academic lead and a coordinator for this one, I couldn't be prouder of being part of this, an incredible team. And I'm sure, as a professional community, we will be staying together. We already have other initiatives together, so we're not going away. We are continuing on what we've started, and we invite you, as people attending here and online, to be part of this community. Get in touch, use the tools, be part of our community, get us involved, and get involved in our aspects. And with that, I would like to close this event, and thank you so much, and have a lovely day. Thanks.